All right, I am here with Mr. Christopher Snyder, who acts as Doug in The Big Break, and who, out of this entire production, has known me longer than anyone else. Um, we go way back, and we have gone through many. We've known each other in many different phases, and have talked about and tried working together for like I don't know, at least a decade at this point. Um, why don't you tell people how you know me and how this movie came to be from your perspective?
Um, Honestly, I totally forget how I know you. It's been so long. It's probably been, wow, 15, 16 years. Um, just hanging out at probably Allentown Starbucks, through mutual friends.
Yeah.
And I knew you worked on movies and this and that. And I think it was probably like a decade ago or so where I was getting older. I definitely was not getting any younger. So I wanted to uh, try to broaden my horizons and step into new grounds in my life. So yeah, it's been about a decade in the making to make a movie with you, and yeah, it was definitely the big break was a week in my life that when I went when after it was all said and done, I told a lot of my friends that it was very um, inspiring to me. I definitely went out of my comfort zone. I really don't get too nervous about things, but I was nervous going into it. I think a lot of other people that I didn't know, I had no idea besides you, I believe, for the most part. And
Yeah.
I feel like I am a friendly guy, but it was nerve-wracking at first for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about, and I think like, had you met Tanya before?
Uh, yes, a handful of times. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Tanya's the only other person other than me that you had known before this
Yeah.
going. Yeah, very few people knew each other, but that was basically it. But yeah, we also went to the same high school. Like, I like, I'd seen you in passing and like known of you, but yeah, like we kind of knew each other, like 20 years ago. But I
Yeah.
feel like for me, I feel like we really bonded, and I recognize the background right now, uh, at Lehigh, which is
Yeah.
where I went to grad school, and you were working on campus.
Mhm.
And I would come visit you all the time at the coffee shop, and we would just like talk and get to know each other. And you became like one of my good friends there. Um, and it really started where I think like when we would like when I would come like visit you there and like talk to you, like it was very hard to have like a long conversation with you because there was like any time we talked, like every 5 minutes, somebody would come up to you and say hi. And I realized like over time, like you knew everybody. And it wasn't just that like you were like a friendly guy on campus, like was friends with everyone. Like you knew exactly what they were had done last week. And like it was like you managed to have these close relationships to like everyone and just be like a genuine friend to everyone. And I really like it was inspiring. I was just like, I want to be around this guy more. And I feel like we became closer friends, and I was just like I need to put you in we need I need you to be like the subject of something. And I feel like we talked about a documentary back then because I was teaching documentary film. um and then it wasn't until like later that uh I guess we started talking about making a movie together. But in between that time, you had decided to start doing stand up.
Mhm.
And you've become somewhat of like a local celebrity, I think, from your stand-up. So maybe how did that happen?
Um, well, thank you for the kind words. I realized, being on campus and a lot of people, it's just a humanistic side, especially at Lehigh. A lot. I don't know if everybody knows what kind of university it is. A lot of kids are under pressure.
Yeah.
Um, and I learned many years ago, obviously, you're not going to know everything about everyone. But if you can get like a little snippet inside of their life besides studying or something like that, or, what they enjoy doing, and maybe you can remember a little bit about it, it could turn their day away if they're having turn their day around, sorry,
Yeah.
uh, if they're having a bad day. Um, and that's how I try to operate. Sometimes it's difficult. Everybody's busy, everybody's doing things, but um, that's how I am. So thank you for the kind words. Um, yeah, probably 4 or 5 years ago, I started to go to open mics, and it's difficult if you're around your friends or even people that don't even know you and they find you um, somewhat funny, but it's even more difficult to go on a stage and make a bunch of strangers laugh in the spur of the moment. So I decided once again I want to go out of my wheelhouse, and I wanted to try stand up. Right now I'm on a little bit of a hiatus from it. Been taking a few months off, burned myself out. Um, but it's been a fun ride. It's got me out of my comfort zone, and it's really um, helped me grow as a person too. Um, and it helps. It's a positive and negative effect. And it's also it's a mind game really. It's the most challenged I've ever been. Well, besides the movie, in my life, uh, probably, and I've been here for a few decades now. And you know, it's still fun, and that's part of it too. It's you need to bring some fun to your life, and that's the reason I started it. It's a great community around here in the Lehigh Valley.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a bit of a stand-up scene.
yeah, and I didn't realize it until I really got into it. There's a few names here and there that I would hear about that have been doing it for many years. It's like any um, it's like any creative endeavor. It takes you many years to try to almost perfect, but you're never going to perfect it. There's always something more swirling around in your brain because, it's everyday life that certain people find certain things funny. Um, but it's very challenging. Um,
I think also for people watching this, they should understand like what like you're at least I know you're on a hiatus right now, but like when I would come see you a couple years ago, like and we could talk about the other movie that we almost made, but
mhm.
you really stuck with me in trying to get this movie made. But uh you were doing stand up like 3 times a week. Like you were just everywhere. Like every night it was like um you were doing some type of open mic or stand up show and you're improvising pretty much all of it, right?
Um, yeah, for the most part, definitely, I'd say 90% of what I do is improvising. So that's a little um, off the radar to say for comedians.
Yeah.
Nowadays you have comedians that can improvise, but they also are in Hollywood and on tour and making millions of dollars. Um, and it's almost a mind game again that some of it's going to work and some of it's not going to work. But to even be able to get on a stage, I think is a feat. There's certain nights where I didn't feel up to it, but I went up anyway just to push myself. Um, and yeah, that's most majority of comedians, I don't want to speak for any of them, but they have their 5, 10 minute set and they know exactly what they're going to say and they're trying to perfect that. But
Yeah.
the way I go about it is, certain things will be funny in everyday life, um, and certain things won't be funny. But it's all about the crowd. I realize too, it's some of the crowd as well that you really that makes or breaks the way things go for you. Um,
I think
but
the
my goal is just to make one perfect person laugh. Um, so I feel good the rest of the night, or week.
I think more times than not, you really, I mean, clearly you've like uh oh you've created almost like a cult following, I think, in a lot of ways. And you generally bring down the house in laughter more times than not. And increasingly so as I would watch you like grow as a comedian. And I think a lot of it is exactly what you said, which is that you see a lot of people do their 5-10 minute bits, and it's like um, they're like testing the audience, and they're really trying to like perfect like a joke, whereas you are such a like refreshing like you have such a different approach that it's really refreshing for an audience to just see someone up there and like just like improvise and do their own thing, and it's like different every time. And sometimes it's there's like physical comedy involved, and it's like you never know what you're gonna expect with you. And so I think people love to watch you partially because like we don't know what's gonna every time it's different. And so there's usually something inherently funny about that, I think, that just makes you fun to watch.
Yeah, yeah, it's always expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
And it's also I feel that the way I approach it is, if I am on stage for 15 seconds and the first thing I don't do doesn't work, then it just doesn't work, and you just move on from there. I've seen comedians get stuck, and they have 4 or 5 minutes still to, and it's just you feel awkward up there if that happens. And I've definitely felt awkward. Um, but my longest, it was actually I think last year, about a year ago, little less than a year ago, I actually did 15, I think it was 15 to 17 minutes, I don't know the exact time, of all improvised stand up. And I just went off certain words that the audience gave me. So I think it's 3 or 4 words, but I stretched it out for 15 minutes. And there were certain topics too, and some of I just didn't I didn't, know about, so I just made it up on the spot. But I think that has helped me over the past few years too, with life and different situations too. You never know, whether it be your job or your outside life as well, you never know what you're going to get into. Um, and that's the excitement of it as well, you know.
Yeah, and you're reminding me that I need to ask you for some clips of your stand-up. I have some, but at some point, if people are watching this, we'll make some of your stand-up available somewhere on our socials. So I feel like people need to really experience Chris's stand-up. It's truly something special. And and so from my perspective, like I see you on Lehigh's campus and just like everyone loves you there. I see you like grow and stand up and like everyone loves you in there. And I'm just like, and I'm trying to like think about trying to make a movie. Maybe this would have been like a few years ago, and we had already talked about working together. So uh yeah, I haven't actually talked about this yet, and I don't want to go into too much detail. I don't want to like talk about any names or anything, but like we tried to make a movie uh
Mhm.
about a year or two before the big break, and you were one of the main actors in it. And it just kind of fell apart. And I think that but like I should say like we got pretty far along. Like we were having table reads, like we had a full cast, we were starting to location scout, and like we were pretty close to going forward with that movie. Um, but for me, I think the big lesson was that there was just too many moving parts for the resources that I had. And so I think the big break was a result of that, where I was just like, all right, put a few people in a room, uh, and strip it down as much as possible. And all the things that went wrong with that last movie, get those like variables out of the way and just make sure that this can get done. And
Mhm.
it and we figured it out. And um, the role of Doug was very much written for you. Uh, Not that Doug is you, but I wrote it knowing that you would pull off a great performance. But you said that like it's been one of the most challenging things for you. I'm surprised because your performance is it's just so seamless and it comes everyone just as I predicted, as everyone loves you in stand-up, like, if everyone who watches this movie falls in love with Doug. It's like, how did you pull off such a good performance when you were so nervous without showing that?
Um, well, many years ago, well, I don't have a very good short-term memory because things I did in the past. Um, so memorizing everything, I was just very, very nervous about memorizing everything
Yeah.
and wanting to come, where I'd come in and when I should come in, and I tried to actually, it's a weird, I don't think anybody on this planet does this, but I try to like actually visualize the lines
Hmm.
and people's tone of voices and where it was in the script, and then I'd go from there. Um, but there were certain, it's wild just to have everybody in a room and everybody conversation or this or that or the pauses and um sometimes I probably didn't show it, but it was just like a little anxious moment, but it wasn't it wasn't overwhelming. um yeah, it's definitely a challenge because I never acted before. You see all these people going to like New York City, LA, so have you, and be actors, and they've been at it for decades, and then they perfect it. But it's also, I realized, especially like the few days going into it, I'm like, just literally act like myself, and I'll be fine, you know. And we had a good cast and crew together, and it was also, um, I felt like throughout the week we definitely bonded more. I think the first day or two I was a little like tightened up, so to speak. It's like anything.
Yeah.
Um, and then it started to like flow more. There's more cohesiveness. Um, we talked more. We got to know each other more because we are all together for a week. There's no escaping anyone. There's
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's where like the magic happened for me at least, where I just I wasn't expecting you guys to put off such like amazing performances and you really did. Like the four of you just really bonded and uh brought the best out of each other. And like, I mean, I like I feel like every take, at least with the comedic scenes, like it was just like every take we were laughing and it was just such a like fun process. And with the memorizing lines, like yes, we did stick to it at times, but I think I knew because you had so much experience improving stand-up comedy that like I really did encourage you to like improv as much as possible. And I think you really did the right balance of like getting Doug's character down, making sure to like hit the notes of the story, um, and like really create a character that yes, there are parts of it that I think you were just yourself, but there are also parts of it that I think you really elevated this character, like Doug. Like I'm just thinking of like the scenes with Alan. Like you really put on like this like dramatic performance when you're like worried about Charlie and like that's not easy to act opposite somebody on a phone. But you did a really great job. And I should say like a lot of my favorite moments in this movie were from you improvising.
well. Thank you. Did you tell the rest of the cast that, or
I've been very open about it. I've been very open that like what has made this movie are four amazing performances. So it's really all of you guys like elevated each other.
Yeah, and it's also it's wild. Not only the fact that we didn't know each other, we all four came from almost different backgrounds in your life as well.
Yes.
You knew them at different points in your life,
Yeah.
and I want to compliment you to look back in your memory bank and find four people that would perfect each character.
Yeah.
Four people in your life throughout the years that would really uh, do it justice, but actually the good word that you said there is elevate it. You
Yeah.
know, we took a few weeks and we did read throughs, and
Yeah.
just doing read throughs and having words on a paper is great. and doing different scenes. But like I said before, you never know what you're going to get going into a room. You know, you can see faces, you can hear voices on a screen, but once you get into the room, it's a different emotionally too.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and it was overall it was a great experience. It's very, like I said, challenging, tiring, but that's like why why would you just want to do the run of the mill things? Um, yeah, and I totally forget what the question was.
So do I. But but yeah, I mean, I agree. Like I think everyone has kind of shared this where it was like, I tried to make the schedule like, not crazy. I knew we had to do a lot in a short amount of time, but like, I think it was maybe 10, maybe 12-hour days here and there, but it wasn't like crazy, crazy. There was plenty of time for like meals and sleep and all that, but you guys just kept wanting to go and like I don't know, sometimes we would just go into like at least like the two truths and a lie scene, like probably went to like 3, 4 a.m. or something. Like you guys just wanted to keep going. And it was for me just like um I don't know, it was just really wonderful to have everyone willing to just like not just be willing to keep going and keep taking it further and just give it their everything, but like you guys actually wanted to and we're really like having a blast the whole time. And I think everybody walked away with like just new friends and like a really, really special experience for everyone.
It also was good to see each other grow over the week as well, and almost like give each other pointers on different scenes as well. Um, you don't really get that in your normal day life sometimes, you know. It's just it's a good feeling. And it's not it was all positive. And it's hard, it's difficult sometimes to do the same scene over and over and over again, but also there were some scenes where I could do this differently or I could do that differently, and then another cast member would chime in and say, okay, this or that you
Yeah.
know so it's a good feeling overall.
Yeah. Yeah. And you for me, I think provided a lot of comfort because yes, I knew everyone from different walks of life, but you're the only one who actually has known me like from like childhood, basically my teenage years, my 20s. Nobody on set, not even, my wife and I didn't meet till we were 30. So you are really the only one that could provide this kind of like context of and this connection of like we've known each other for a while um, and grew up in the same area, went to the same high school and all that. So I yeah, having you on set provided a lot of comfort for me in that sense. There's like there's someone here I've known for like a really long time. Um, and so it
Yeah, and
was
it's all.
easy to work with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's very easy to work with you too, because it's life. And once you know somebody for decades, whether you see them or not often, you still know them. You know their generalized character. You know this and that about them. Um, yeah, so it's very easy, and I appreciate that you've stuck a role for me for the past decade, and we figured it out at the
You
end.
figured it out, yeah.
you know, it's hard, and that's the ups and downs and some of the challenges of it, but you know, you never gave up a spot for me, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. And if this movie does see the light of day, I think people are gonna fall in love with Doug. Um, and if we ever get to make another movie, you'll have a role in that one too, if you want it. So I hope this is the we fought like hell to like finally get to work together. So I hope you know it leads to more opportunities. Um, I have a
I
few.
just I'm glad I have some acting experience under my belt now. It feels good.
You nailed it, man. You really did. You nailed it. I think I know you were nervous, but I hope you know like how many people have just complimented your performance and you and Tim. both had no prior acting experience, and I can't tell you how many people that have seen like the rough cut or have just seen footage of it, and they really don't believe it because you guys put on such good performances, both of you, for having no experience. It's like really hard to believe, I think, because the heart and soul of this movie is the performances.
Hmm.
Uh,
Absolutely.
all
And
right,
I think the other thing um, about being anxious is to almost be a new character, almost be a character for a week, a different person. So you're almost like transforming your personality to someone else as well, you
yeah,
know? So that was interesting for me.
and it's different, I guess, because your stand-up is very like honest. I
Hmm.
think, right? Like you're very much you in your stand-up, but Doug is a character.
Yeah.
And you were able to like you were able to do that very well. Uh, yeah, yeah. And it's funny, like yeah, just the progression. Like I think everybody was feeling it out, like on the first day, and it was rough, but it started coming together really quickly. And like yeah, by day two or three, I mean everyone, the cast, the crew, like we really figured out um the right way to just move quickly and really like get the best out of everyone.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right, so I have a few questions for you from other people involved in the movie.
Okay.
Tanya asks, "Who is Gonzalez?"
Oh my God.
This was one of my favorite moments on set.
Hold on. This goes back a year. I got to think of the Gonzalez. Oh man.
Do you remember
Oh,
this?
was that when I was freaking out on the phone?
Mhm.
Oh man.
So
Who's Gonzalez?
you there's all right. So this I don't even know what it was in the script, but in the script I think it was just like a tiny scene, like half a page, and I was like, you know what? So this was at very much at a point in the shoot where I think we were really starting to improvise and explore like I don't know. We were finding room for improv basically. And
Hmm.
this was the scene where it was just you. I remember clearing the set.
Yeah.
It was just you and me, and it was just you riffing for like probably 2 hours, at least like an hour and a half. Um, and it was just riffing back and forth and like I don't know we it was you improvising me trying to give you some like material to improvise with and it's like you calling people frantically looking for Charlie and
Yeah.
I don't know one of the really funny things was like you kept trying to find the story we came up with was like you're trying to find a guy named Gonzalez that once came over who was friends with Charlie and watched Parks and Rec and it was just such a funny like I don't know.
Um, Gonzalez is just a random dude.
Yeah.
That pretty much he came over and watched Parks and Rec because if you've seen any of my stand up, I have a little crush on Aubrey Plaza. Um, but yeah, it was funny. That scene actually was the one where I got so nervous for
Yeah.
because it was just me. Um, that I told everybody to get off set. I do remember that part. I don't know why I was nervous. I think it was just the amount of caffeine that I had in my
It was also
system.
just like it was you and everyone was watching you.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
everyone was like standing, like staring at you. Yeah.
It was almost like being the quarterback in the Super Bowl, and you're down by a touchdown, and you need to throw a pass. And I think I threw a Hail Mary, and I crushed that one.
Yeah.
So, um, but yeah, that scene was really funny. But yeah, I just like I got about Gonzalez. Um, I just got so amped up in that scene, and I felt my blood pressure like boiling.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I just got into character, and it's just a very short, like 2 minute and a half, 2 minutes of the movie. But yeah, it was absolutely wild.
Yeah. Yeah. That was some really solid improvisation and some of the most fun I had where it was just like riffing with you and like just like because we didn't really know what um we didn't really know where it was going to go. We just knew you were calling people looking for Charlie, and like
Mhm.
I don't know. I remember watching that footage for the first time and just like could not stop laughing. That yeah, there's a lot of funny moments in there. I won't spoil it for anyone, but
That was also a moment where I'm like, I had no idea what I was going to say next at that point.
yeah, I
Like
think
that was,
yeah.
it was just, yeah, it was pandemonium. Let's just put it that way.
I think we activated like the charm that you have in stand up, and I feel like that was
Yeah,
one of the moments where I was like so glad that I like knew you and knew like what your strengths were because I felt like we were like I don't know we were able to like bring that out on film. Um,
yep,
yeah, and since we were on such a tight schedule, there was very few moments where we really got to just like spend an hour and a half where just like coming up with shit together. All
yeah,
right.
absolutely.
This you answered a little bit, but if you want to elaborate, Tanya also asks, how did stand up help you improvise in the movie?
Um, well, like I mentioned earlier, it's you know, I my memory's not that great sometimes. So I got a little nervous about it. But at the end of the day, like my nerves sort of like died down a little bit throughout the process. Um, and honestly, like stand up helped me because first of all, I met a bunch of strangers and it helped with that. And every time you do stand up, you're mostly in front of strangers. And, I you have to be your genuine self, and that's what I tried to bring to this movie as well. Just be a genuine human being trying to make a project at the end of the day. And it worked out. Um, and stand up helped me too because it was just, just being a lot of people have stage fright and cannot go in front of people. Um, and it just being a camera, but still, it helped me um, bring an extrovert side of myself out. That sometimes, I am a little introvert, but it brought it out a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for people who don't know you and have watched you like in the past decade, like you really have I would have I did kind of associate you as introverted
Mhm.
when I first knew you and then seeing you not just like kind of see that extroverted side come out of you, but like seeing you up on a stage and like perform and like yeah, it was I really watched and the way that you described it as to how it was like you putting yourself out of your comfort zone. It's very rare that you see somebody who like is constantly trying to go out of their comfort zone. And I think you like really epitomize that and have really found a way to um make it not just benefit you, but like bring a lot of joy to other people too. So yeah. I'm glad we figured out a way to like get it on film.
Yeah.
All right, two more questions. And they're both from Steven, who's the editor of the movie, who's been
Okay.
watching you for a long time, but you have not met him yet. Uh, again, you might have answered some of this a little bit, but he says, I heard you do stand up, but most of your material is off the top of the dome. How do you remain calm if a joke doesn't land? And how do you wrap it into the next joke if it doesn't?
Uh, First part of that question, I don't remain calm. I freak out in my mind. That's what happens. Um, if it doesn't land, I pause for a few seconds and I just try to make something work. And there's also nights where absolutely nothing works, and you leave a stage and you feel like total shit, and you never want to go on a stage again. Um, but there's this little thing in your brain that makes you keep going and keep going and keep going, um, because you feel like you'll hit with at least one person in the audience, um, or more. The more the merrier. Um, but also, for instance, um, it was back in like I have been taking a few months off, but it was back in December. I did a show, and all the other comedians were from Philly. Um, and the one actually, he's pretty well known in the scene. I should just put it that way. And I was just sweating bullets the whole time. But I did 5 minutes. Uh, I got some compliments and I did well. Um, so, it's just it's a mind game. It's like this movie too. It's a mind game going into it. Or how are we gonna fit all these puzzle pieces together and just make it work? You know, it's not just a solo. Sometimes with like comedy and being a solo project, it's so easy to sort of like get down on yourself and why didn't that work? I personally thought that was funny, but why didn't anybody latch on to it? And sometimes it's it's them sometimes, it's not you.
I don't think I've ever seen you like bomb, but I feel like I've seen you navigate like a joke not going as well as you want. And I think two of the things that you're really good at is one, audience interaction, and two, self-deprecating humor. Those are,
It's funny because early on, a friend who I haven't seen in a while, I should send her some of newer clips. She always said, "Stop being so self-deprecating," and it's like it's not. It, it is, but it isn't. But I also know myself so well that it's like it's funny to me. It's funny to bring out certain faults in your life that you're a little sad about because sometimes comedy can be sad, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. I
Uh,
mean, it works in your act.
yeah, and it's also I've gained the knowledge of not offending people with my interactions, but keeping them at bay.
Yeah.
And there's a reason they're in the audience. If they're there not to laugh or not to have any joy, then they should, you know, go go watch paint dry on the wall or something. I don't know. It's
But that is a great way to describe it. And like you don't offend anyone, but you certainly like call people out and like you do it in a way that's very tactful. Uh,
thank you.
yeah. Uh, okay, last question. Have you ever caught yourself being Doug during stand-up? This is a multi-part question.
Okay.
So
In the past year.
I assume so because we Doug didn't exist before then. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, no, I have not in the past year. But um honestly, like a lot of my friends after the movie were very excited about it. Um, so that's a good feeling. But I didn't leak any inside info. Don't worry. But I have not caught myself being Doug lately.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think anyone who knows you is excited for more people to see you because
Hopefully, I don't let anybody down.
no, trust me, you won't. Uh, and then the second part of this question is who's your favorite comedian and did they inspire you?
That's a very, very difficult question. How much time do we have?
As much as you want, but that's the last
Okay.
question.
Okay. I have to go with like the classics of like George Carlin and Norm Macdonald, especially Norm Macdonald. Actually, somebody just texted me about comedians a day or so ago, and the inspiring ones. Definitely like Norm in a way. I feel like whether he be in the spotlight on a talk show or whether he's roasting someone or he's, doing a special, I feel like some of his humor went over 99% of people's heads.
Yeah,
But he really latched on to that like 1% that understood where his brain was going and where he was going with a certain joke or a certain premise. Um, I've watched a lot of his stuff. Um, Carlin just he told it how it is, and especially in his generation, he didn't care, but in the best possible way. Um, and I think he foreshadowed a lot of stuff that's happened over the past decades as well, um, with the way things are. Um, I don't know. There's a lot of I've been getting into a lot of like mid-level comedians as well, and there's a guy named Jeffrey Osmith. He's a little mid-level, but he's very honest, but he's also very smart and the way he presents himself as well. Um, and there's just naming three, but there's so many others that, you see a clip of somebody, you're like, all right, he's funny or she's funny, but you totally forget who they are. Um, but yeah, I feel like it's like the movie business. It's such a cutthroat business of, you know, I want to be funny, I want to be popular, I want to do this now. But it's like you got to grind for so long at it to figure out how your voice can be heard. Um, and some nights you're gonna be awesome, and some nights you're gonna feel average, and some nights you're gonna just feel like total shit. But you know that's the way it goes. I've never seen anybody get on a stage, do 5 minutes of stand up, and sign a deal for an international tour. That never happened. If it has, obviously in front of the wrong people. But yeah, it's a challenge. But I'll be back at it soon.
I could see those two influences in that Carlin telling it like it is, and Norm, you never know what's going to come out of his mouth. I feel
Mhm.
like you merge those two things
Thank you.
in a good way.
Somebody mentioned too that I act a little bit like Stephen Wright, and Stephen Wright is a brilliant, brilliant man as well. Um, and he's one of those where it's just like it's so um, if you don't get it the second it happens, you're
Yeah,
not gonna. If you think about it 10 seconds later, it's not gonna register with you. One of those.
yeah, yeah. Um, I guess, but to wrap up, I want to also just point out like I guess I guess the question is like how do you see the next year or two? Like what do you want to be working on and um to provide some context, like I feel like I've seen you go through many different phases. I've seen you like pursue music journalism. Um, you've done a lot of different stuff. I feel like stand up though, like something has stuck with this. Uh, is this hiatus going to be long? Are you going to be back at it soon? Are you going to be more open to acting? What's your like what would you like to be doing like a year from now?
A year from now. Well, my last show for stand up was the end of April. So I literally did a show in December, did a show in April, did no open mics in between there, just winged it. Um, and then it's just gonna be long. I don't know. I'll probably be back at it in the fall, maybe the winter. Um, yeah, just I don't know if anybody when people watch this, if you've ever tried stand up, but when it's your hyper focused in your life and you do 4 or 5 open mics a week, it just gets very exhausting uh, mentally, and you have other stuff going on as well. Um, but you also try to like figure out throughout the day where you're funny. When you go back to your previous question, there's a guy named one of my favorites, probably top three, named Rory Scovel. I don't know how I didn't mention him. Um, he has a Netflix special, and he also has an all improvised special of stand up, which is absolutely insane. It's an hour long, um, which is I can barely improvise 5 minutes in doing, but an hour's incredible.
Well, you're
Um,
improvising 5 minutes 4 days a week sometimes, so
yeah, so that's 20 minutes total. Um,
I
but that's
I
that's
wanted
yeah. Go ahead.
I
Sorry.
want to point out like when we were filming, just to like so people know like a little bit of like your status is that like we're filming at the Fun House, which is not far from where you're at, uh, and you do a lot of shows in that vicinity.
Hmm.
It was hard to film because every few minutes, and I'm actually surprised in this interview we haven't had at least one or two people come up to you and interrupt right now, but like you really do have this like status of like everyone knows you. And I think you even sent me like a Reddit thread where someone was like, "What do we do in Bethlehem?" And it was like, "Go to the funhouse, talk to Chris. He'll tell you what's going around town." You're you've become like I don't know, a local celebrity, a fixture of the community. Like everyone kind of knows you there.
But it's funny, my one good friend always calls me a local legend.
Local legend
Um,
is a good way to describe it.
Local legend, which is hilarious. Um, but I've been here I've been living here about a decade. So you get to know all walks of life. I have multiple jobs, so that helps as well. Um, but it's funny. Also, you mentioned earlier in the interview when we like met, we only had a brief few minutes to talk, 5 minutes or so, but you're always impressed that uh, that I could remember a little bit about somebody all the time. Um, and it's funny,
Yeah.
you get it. The world's so big, but also sometimes it's so small. You know, it's just you see the same people and you see the same personalities over and over. Um, and I have no idea where I'm going with this, but um, you just make a connection with somebody, and sometimes you don't make any connection. They're just there for 5 minutes getting a coffee, or there, at the fun house for a few minutes, and that's that. Um, but yeah, it's we. I didn't. I try to stay humble, and I try to just talk, like communicate with people and talk to people. And I know I'm not the best at it sometimes, um, but it's a good feeling when people appreciate what you do. Um,
I
and to
think,
answer your question, oh,
yeah.
good.
No, no, go ahead, go ahead.
To answer your question, I have no idea what I'm doing in the next year, but I would like to get back to my creative side, especially music journalism. I've been, flirting with that for the past few months of getting back to it, and I really haven't. Um, and it's also, it's funny, this movie, in a week span, you grow a lot just in a week. But I actually read some of my journalism from years ago. Uh, I, I could barely put a sentence together. I felt like it was absolutely, atrocious. And I read it and I'm like, well, how did, but also you grow in that as well. Um, so yeah, well, I definitely like to act again. I think it was a fun experience, and I think, you know, um, I'm not a dull human being. Um, so
Well,
yeah, it's all three of those creative outlets. I think I'll be back at it in the next year or so.
I was gonna end with if I make another movie, are you gonna be in it? I hope that that's the case.
Oh, absolutely.
But
Hopefully, it's not going to be in another decade, right? It's not going to
I hope not. I already have a role for you, and I am pretty well into the script. So let's hope this movie leads to another one. Um, the thing I want to end on though, I think is that you touched on with memorization. You talk about how like it was difficult for you to memorize lines,
be.
yet you remember these things about people. Um, and I just realized what you were describing and like what I saw in you 10 years ago, like on campus, was that you were having meaningful conversations with everyone. And that's what this movie is about and why you were so perfectly cast is you have two people who one is addicted to social media and the other has a relationship with an AI character. Uh, and you are like the character who is able to have like human connections with everyone. And so I think whether it was conscious or subconscious, I think I don't know, Doug is such an important character and such a lovable character for the same reason that I think like you are so um kind of lovable in the community is because you are able to have you might be bad at memorizing lines, but you're good at memorizing the things that people really care about. And so you're able to have these meaningful relationships with a lot of people. And yeah, I again just like I can't tell you how rare it is to see that and how central it is to like what I hope this movie communicates.
Well, yeah. First of all, thanks for the kind word. Um, and like I said, probably 17 times in this interview, it's, going out of your comfort zone. So it's certain people that it's like, especially for instance on like a college campus, you go for a major and you feel like for 4 or 5 years, you're gonna be really good at this major, and then you're gonna get a job, and then that's pretty much almost gonna be your life at the end of the day. Um, and it's great. It's great for some people, but it's that almost like not every day, but every maybe like few months, I feel like what could I don't know, what could I do differently?
Hmm.
You know, and sort of like almost get hyper fixated on. Even if it's for like a few months or a few years, um, and that's part of life. It's not sometimes it's not mastering one skill. It's knowing a few skills. Um, and that's what, you know, communicating with people too. Um, it's just maybe knowing a little bit about them. Um, and having a first conversation, then a second conversation. You get to know, and like you and I, we've known each other for decades in different aspects of our lives. Um,
Yeah.
the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah. Well, you've continued to be one of my good friends, and I'm really glad that you were part of this movie. And I hope you start doing stand up again soon because I want to come see you. And I hope this is just the beginning of your acting career because you really did a great job, man. And thank you
Thank you.
for talking to me. And yeah, any final thoughts?
Um, Pretty much you can do anything you put your mind to. It may just take some time though.
Well put, well put. Well, thank you, Chris.
All right. Thanks, Avi.